And good morning, guys. Happy Monday. Happy Juneteenth. It is 9:23 live right now on our streaming setup here. Welcome to Storm Talk. I'm Wave Meteorologist Brian Good. As always, appreciate you guys locking in for the blog this time of day. Although it's been a little hectic here lately, we've been adjusting some of our different setup and systems, some of the stuff we're going to see in the coming days and weeks ahead, and we're excited to share some of that with you. Of course, I'm already looking ahead. You know me. I'm already looking ahead to like, okay, so what are the factors that we missed last winter, and how do we get this right for this winter? Already just focused on that. So I'm already zoomed in on those details. It's way early, but it's always fun to identify more so what happened in the past before we get into making a forecast in the future. As you guys know, that forecast will not come out until somebody will know. You'll type it in. Good morning to everyone, to Judy and to Michael and Matt and Glenda and Karen. Quite a few of you guys. I'm not sure if you're off work today or if you're just sitting back and kind of enjoying the rainy setup here in Wave Country today. And well, it looks like, yeah, you guys have got it right. Let's see, Halloween. Got some Octobers in there. I'll go with October. We'll go with October. That's fair. Yes, Halloween night. All right, so how are you guys? How are you doing? Let me know. Type 1 if you're good. Type 2 if you want to go back to bed and take a long nap for the rest of the day. I won't mind. I'll even write you a note if I need to for your boss. I will do that. It may not be my signature, but I will certainly try to help. I totally understand. It's one of those days, right? It's just that gloomy, rainy one. And we really haven't had too many of these. I mean, obviously, we're entering a drought scenario. So to start off a blog saying, hey, it's a gloomy, rainy morning, I haven't had a chance to say that for a while. So I don't think we should complain too much on it. We just don't want too much rain too fast to cause any problems. And that's going to be one of the issues that I'm going to point out. And why I decided to change the title for the blog today is I do think there's a couple things we need to watch. All right. As always, you guys can comment. You're already learning that aspect on Facebook and Twitter and on YouTube as well. Let's start with a look from our Skytrack camera. This is actually kind of a spooky shot much of the day. This is at the Waterfront Plaza in downtown Louisville. Traffic, of course, light being a holiday. The low clouds at times have been right in front of the camera lens. You can barely been able to even see anything with some of these heavier showers that move through. But certainly more humid out there today than what it has been the past couple of days. That should be one of the first things you notice, because we've had some really lucky, cool nights. Even though we've gotten warm at times in the day, the nighttime temperatures have been easily to be able to fall back in the 50s, and we don't have a chance to see that too often in June. And this year has been, I think wins the prize on that idea alone of being able to do that. I think that's impressive. That's changed today, obviously. We're humid, we're saturated. That's why the rain is falling. And here it is, blah. That's its name, blah. And this big blah of rain, moderate rainfall, maybe even going to heavy at times, is going to be our main focus for the day. Now, I will say I do not see anything severe with this as it pans out, because normally we talk about the spin of a low pressure, and I'm all right. You already know where I'm going with this. You get to the low pressure, it's on the map, then you start drawing the American flag box there in the southeast corner, and I'm like, oh, watch the southeast corner. That's where you can get your severe weather and your tornadoes, blah, blah, blah. And that's still the case. That's true in this scenario. When you have low pressures like this, you got to watch it. But this is a cutoff low. So what I mean by that is that it doesn't have all the different pieces. If you have a divider plate at home with your mashed potatoes on one side, your cornbread and whatnot on the other, corn on the other side, I don't do divider plates. I just mash it all together. But my brother has to have a divider plate or he gets really mad. That's a whole other story. But this low pressure is one that everything's kind of blended together. It's not really a strong divider plate scenario with this setup. So we do not have, in that case, a setup that would provide for severe weather to break out. Now, can you get lightning? Yes, we've already had that. Can you get some gusty winds? Yes. Hail? Unlikely. It's fairly warm above our heads, and these are relatively low top on their height too. And we don't have a lot of instability because there are a lot of clouds. This thing's a big ball of clouds around it. So it's not a low pressure that moved into our environment that's been humid and is kicking up showers and storms and risk for tornadoes. It just kind of snuck in here during the night, and clouds have been around, and it's just going to hang out for the day. And it's basically just keeping things tame, but allowing for tropical downpours to move through. And that is important because remember, again, we do have a drought scenario that is developing, and this is a good setup. This is not a tropical storm, nor was this a fading tropical storm. But boy, it acts just like one. It acts just like one, and can be just as beneficial for us to get us out of a drought status if it can do the right things in the right spots. What I mean by that is spread on the rainfall side on these amounts. Don't put it all in one area. But there is a caution to that. Let me explain. Let me zoom in first with where the low, at least right now, looks to be. Near E-Town, LaRue County, and Eastern Grayson County. It to be the center of it. It's a counterclockwise flow, so everything, if you look carefully, everything's generally kind of spinning around it, right? Now, here's the thing. The low is going to drift north between now and about 3 p.m. today, get a little closer to Louisville. Then it's going to head east tonight and tomorrow, heading toward West Virginia. Then it's going to turn around and come back on Tuesday into Wednesday, move back into southern Kentucky. Then it's going to realize it's been here before, turn around, and then leave town. So that is the reason why the forecast has been such a pain for about a week now for this week's outlook, is because of this motion this low has. Because on either side of it, really anywhere around the low pressure, that if you're not in the dome, if it's reach right now, temperature is going to get into the 90s. Hot weather, summer weather surrounds this. So it's hard to see on a temperature map right now. I got a feeling this afternoon, Ryan will be here. He may be able to show the temperature map, but it would show 70s, 60s, and 70s, and then 90s surrounding us, like our own little world here. So this system was a big troublemaker because we knew that the pain here would be that if it missed us more to the south or it didn't come back into town, say it left town and stayed away, then the 90s would rule the forecast. It's pretty easy stuff on that idea. The hard part's figuring out, will it come back for a visit or not? So far, the data we've looked at in the past 24, 36 hours is it is going to come back and therefore keep the rain chance going. Now, its slowest that I see of its motion is today. That's where we really could see some of the higher rain totals take place, okay? So let me start with a zoom. First, we'll begin into the southern side of it, where one of the rain bands is in Radcliffe, Lebanon Junction, southern areas into Bullock County, into Bardstown. That is lifting north. It's on the northern fringe. Remember that spot right here where you see that yellow. I'm going to come back to that. Once you get into Louisville, we've had a couple of bands. We had the strongest one, actually, was about 5 a.m. this morning. They came through Louisville. They gave Louisville basically a good quarter of an inch of rainfall. Some areas did get skipped on that, but it moved right into Clark County. Has already faded away. There's a few more back towards Cincinnati area trying to get pulled in on that low and get pulled more west. And then you got some of on this western side trying to dive southbound because, again, it is all spinning. Here is what is staying out to me. As the low gets a little more into this area, say right into, I would say, Nelson, Hardin, into Bullitt. This is where I think it's going to stop, and then it'll begin its eastern turn. Because it makes that journey a little closer to Louisville, the heaviest of the rain bands are likely going to hug right on the edge of the circle, or edge of the eye, if you will, if it were a hurricane, if I can create that kind of a visual for you all. With that idea in mind, that would allow for some of the heavier rain bands to move in and kind of repeat themselves in a circular pattern right at the point of wherever the center of the low is. My concern on this is that it's getting awful close to Louisville this afternoon when that happens. And it will be dramatic. You will likely see rain that will start off, say, in, let's say, J-Town. That same rain band, if you're watching the radar, and say you live in Corden, you may be watching that rain band start in J-Town, go to Prospect, come all the way around, and then move into your yard in Corden. Complete UE right there on the map. Some of these rain bands will be able to make that tight turn right on the edge of that circulation. And whenever we've seen that happen before, it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, you can get some pretty high rainfall totals. Now, yes, we have been dry. We have been in drought. I think our rainfall numbering that I was looking at was roughly 4.5, something like that. That's how many inches we needed to get out of the drought status safely. It was about 4 inches of rain. Now, the idea is that we work on that 4 inches of rain gradually, not at one time. So that's the only thing I got to mention. The ground's dry. It can soak in a 1 to 3 inch rain scenario today without any major problems, other than some hydroplaning on the roads as you're driving along, because the drains, again, don't drain as fast because the ground, when it's cracked or hard like it has been, it acts as concrete, not true soil. So the rain ends up running off of it first, gets in the storm drain, floods the storm drains, then floods the roadways, and you end up with people hitting patches of water on I-65 and lose control. Versus if you had a more saturated ground, the water would try its best to get soaked first before it made its way onto the roadway, if that all made sense. So that's the only issue we got to watch for hydroplaning today would be the heavy rainfall rate in some of this. If we start getting past the 3.5 inch mark, though, and we were to get some 4 inch totals, which some of the modeling does want to throw out, it's isolated if it happens. But then we're going to talk about perhaps a little more of an issue in flooding that could develop. So if you have a creek nearby, or your basement doesn't do well in heavy rain scenarios, or you just had a roof installed, a lot of you did in my neighborhood, keep an extra eye on this, maybe 2 eyes, or 3 if you have 3. Yeah, this is great. Just keep an eye on what's happening today carefully and monitor it, because we haven't had decent rainfall in this widespread fashion in quite some time. All right, so that low will move around, and look what happens to the rainfall forecast. You can easily see the little spins and the circles there, but right there on its curve where it begins to wrap up, it's trying to spit out 2.5 for Carrollton, 1.84 in Shelbyville, and over 1.5 inches into Louisville. Same story into Clark County. So you see the danger this can happen. Also see the bust potential, because on the southern edge of the spin of the low, there's not much there. So I don't want you guys to be upset saying, I got 1/10 of an inch. That's it for the entire event, Brian. That's all I got. Sorry, that's about what the system will do. It's not going to be a widespread 1 to 3 all over the place, because it's not a wall of rain. It's a circulation of rain, and it really matters on where it's able to produce the best lift, which is going to be like a normal tropical low would be on its northeast and northern side. So a pretty classic setup for a low pressure like that. Is everyone clear on that? Did I get too crazy with the explanation on this? Because I want you guys just to be aware of what we're watching today. And as you look at the radar and the wave weather app, I want you to, follow along with us and kind of just notice some trends and just keep an eye on where these blobs form and and note that they are going to be spinning around that low. So just pay attention to your neighborhood and to the city next to you, and just watch to see how they interact. That's the only weather issue I see out of this, is just tracking the rainfall totals forecast today. That's it. Pretty easy stuff, right? Everyone's good? All right, great. Let's move on. I don't want to bore you all. Oh, guess what? We're back. Yeah, here's where the low comes back tomorrow for a visit. Now, notice everything moved faster just then. Did you notice that? I'll do it again. Everything's moving faster. There is no slow spin circulation. It's still spinning, but its spin close to the low has broadened out dramatically, and everything's just running from it now. I think the rain's pretty much like, we need to get out of here. We need a vacation. We're tired of Kentucky. Totally understand. So the rain is moving fast away from the low. It will likely follow the flow, a lot of which is going to push it backwards or due west. So we don't have as much rainfall totals that will pile on as fast for Tuesday and Wednesday, because of the idea that it's in such a hurry to get out of here. But it will play games with temperatures, because the clouds and the rain, we may still not hit 80. It's possible. There's another little round of rain that will try to form as the low itself. It's its final journey. This is the last part where it gets its act together, and then finally we'll head out to sea and leave us alone. This is the stage where it starts to happen as we get into Wednesday night and Thursday. And at that point, once we're off the map, then we have a chance to get into a hotter scenario, at least normal. Normal is 87. Yeah, we should be back to that level once we get rid of this low. That has been the season, guys. This blocking pattern, what I mean by blocking is these jet stream wiggles, they just get locked in. So you end up with an incredible amount of high pressure into Canada. So the fires just get going, and there's wind, no rain, because all the low pressures are stuck either down here or in New York State or somewhere off the southeast coast, providing severe weather in the deep south. So there's no low pressures getting into that area of Canada where they need it to get the rain on the fires. So the pattern's been blocked that way, and that's why the smoke keeps funneling back down again in the upper air pattern. Overall, the pattern should stay similar with a block to it, but a different kind of block. The game plan here is that we're going to see the low that's been stuck over us in the southeast corner. A new one would form and get stuck a little more back here into the southwest corner of the country. And then for us, we would just see just general ripples that would move through the Ohio Valley and likely not get cut off. They would be progressive. So that would allow for a chance to get some rain, some thunderstorms, but also some warm spells and get back into the 90s. But our eastern portion of that wiggle of the jet stream has to be progressive. It has to keep allowing the low pressures to move along and send them on their way. If there's one other low that moves in and gets stuck, then that's a problem, because the pattern is still not there yet, that if one were to get stuck again, there's not much to get it out. And then we have to deal with this again for another week coming our way. Real quick on the tropics, an update on such an attractive name of tropical wave Invest 92-L, located way over into the eastern Atlantic. There's actually two waves. One has a good chance here. There's 1 and 2. Easy to see the both of them there. There's actually, I should be completely transparent, there's a third one. You can't see on the map. It's still on the coast of Africa. To see these develop off the coast of Africa, you normally would see this August, September, especially mid-September, and certainly after that, October. You would run into storms developing way in the Atlantic, and then you would track them. You hear about them. I mean, you guys, if you're weather watchers, you've been hearing about these hurricanes that form way out there. And we hear it in the news every single day because it takes forever to get to the United States. And that's why when everyone gets frustrated, it's like, why didn't you want to take precautions if you knew it was coming that long ago? Heads up on this. This is a big heads up. Now, where it's going to go is crucial. This particular model here, it's actually a suite of models. Some want to develop this into a storm. Next name on the list, by the way, is Brett and Turn. John Hope at the Weather Channel. I grew up watching, if you guys remember John Hope, we always did the tropical update on the Weather Channel. His theory, and I'm sure I'm probably saying some pieces of this wrong, but it stuck out to me as an 8-year-old kid, is if it gets named and becomes a tropical cyclone, it's a named tropical cyclone, the chances of it bothering the Caribbean or the eastern United States are slim. It will turn. If it remains just a tropical depression, likely not named, and can sneak through the islands of the Antilles, then it has the chance to become a monster system. as it enters the Caribbean. And we don't know at that point if it's going to be the Yucatan, the Gulf, or Florida. Too many questions on that. So really the crucial moment for this 92-L is going to be what happens when it gets to the Antilles. Does it make the turn, become stronger and make a turn, or does it stay relatively weak and try to sneak through the island chain? That will be a key factor for those of you that have any vacation plans by cruise. And I'm including Puerto Rico, the Bahamas, Florida, Cozumel, all those favorite cruise spots. You just need to pay careful attention. This would put it, I would say, close to the 4th of July when we were talking about this, getting into that zone. So I would pay careful attention to that forecast, and we'll see how it plays out. No need to worry yet, but I just want to make sure you guys understood also what to look at. Is that it? I think that's it. That's all. I think it's on my maps today. Any questions? Any questions that I can legally answer? You're welcome. Hello, Jason. Hope all is well. Fred, I'm in Southern Indiana. Row my boat. There you go. Why does the rain start to the east and head to the west of the norm? That's a good question, Johnny. And the reason for that is, let me clear off my pen, is there are wind belts we have across the country. In general, these are easterly winds across the globe. Sorry, my pen's not going to be exactly right here because the way I drew it. Then we have the westerlies across the lower 48, and then you have more of an easterly flow above that as you get into the higher latitudes. That's a general flow. That's why hurricanes come in from the east. But as soon as because they spin, and it's called the Coriolis effect, when anything spins in the northern hemisphere, it has a natural turn to go right. So as it turns right, it starts to get through the islands. But if it gets too far right, it will catch on to that westerly wind belt that's waiting for it, and it latches onto the hurricane and pushes it out to sea. But sometimes it sneaks in and doesn't catch that west wind until it's too late, and ends up being a Gulf of Mexico storm or the Carolinas, and then makes the turn. But rarely do you see a hurricane go to Nebraska. You know what I mean? They hit the westerlies. The westerlies are so strong, they hit and they turn. Now, I know you probably are talking more about the rain tomorrow, but I just want to explain to you why that happens too on the change of weather coming in from the east and west. It's kind of the same idea, just much more smaller scale. The reason our systems are coming into play is that we have a pattern to our south, strong high to our south, that is not allowing the low to do what it wants to do, is move through, move out of here. So the low is stuck. And because it is stuck, majority of the time, we are going to be on its northwest side. It is a counterclockwise low pressure, that little mini red L I showed you. So because of that, we are on the side where everything gets thrown from the east and heads west. If we are on the other side of it, say southern Kentucky, southeast Kentucky, Smoky Mountains, they will be on the other side. They will be taking in weather coming in from the west and southwest like normal. But we, because of positioning, would be in a different spot, so it comes in the other way. I hope that made sense. It's all about the spin, guys. It's all about the spin. All right, everything looks good. Going to Orange Beach next week. Yeah, I know. Well, 92-L. We'll see what we can do with 92-L. Soon to be Brett. Okay, I don't see any severe weather at all right now with this kind of a setup. You can get some gusty winds out of some of these storms, yes. But once we get back in the 80s and touching 90 in the extended toward the weekend and beyond, because right now that's the stuff we're missing today with this low, are a lot of the ingredients for severe. Once we get back into that pattern again of getting warmer, more humid, daytime heating, the sun's out, yeah, we'll get back into that talk of severe weather, especially with daily pop-up showers and storms. All right, guys, you are awesome as always. I'm going to get ready for the midday show coming up at 11 a.m. I will see you, I would say bright and early there at 11 a.m., but it's gloomy out. But hey, I get to go outside and get rained on today. Everyone loves when the weather person gets rained on.